Hi there, welcome back to episode 122 of the Art of Business English. Andrew Ambrosius here again for the continuation of my mini-series into collocations for business. So in the previous weeks, I covered noun-to-noun collocations and verb-to-noun collocations. And today we'll actually be looking at adjective-to-noun collocations, which are really great to learn because adjectives are used to describe nouns better. So that learning adjective to noun collocations can really improve your vocabulary range, and it can make your English much more descriptive. It can make your writing much clearer. So generally, having a good control over adjectives and nouns and adjective noun collocations is a great way to improve your fluency and to generally improve your business English. So I'm here again today, back in the office. It's nice and quiet, so it's a great time to do a little podcast for you today. So let's dive in then and have a look at these 10 adjective to noun collocations that I've got ready for you today. All right, so the first one here on my list is annual turnover. So annual turnover, basically the meaning of that is it's like the total amount of money that a company generates from sales over a year. So it's all the money that comes into the company from its sales or from any incomes that it generates over the course of a 12-month period. So your annual turnover, the higher the better, obviously. And doesn't really have anything to do with your profits, obviously, because you'll need to look at your expenses compared to annual turnover, and then after all of your taxes and all of your expenses, then you'll get a profit. But your annual turnover is the global amount of money that you can generate in a year from your company. Okay, so that's the first collocation on my list today. The next one we're looking at is the past few weeks. Probably you heard this one before. It's very common, the past few weeks. And that really just means, anything that's happened prior to, anything that's happened in the 2 to 3 weeks prior to the present. Okay then, so let's look at the next one on my list. So the next one is big break. Now, most people want a big break, especially if they are in the in the arts world or the movies. If you're someone that performs in theatre, and it's like a great, the meaning is it's a great opportunity for success, and it's generally after an extended period of hard work with little gain. So many struggling actors are looking for a big break. They've maybe done some small projects or some small movies, but when they get a big break, it's when they go on to something, they get an opportunity in a big blockbuster movie or with some other big name actors. So let's look at the next one. Deep trouble. Now, deep is profundo in Spanish, so deep, like if the pool is deep, it means it's, maybe it's many meters deep. So, you get the sense now when we describe something as deep, and we describe a problem as being, as something as being in deep trouble, then it's really a serious problem. So if you're in deep trouble, or the company or someone is in deep trouble, it means that they have a serious problem or serious problems. Okay, so next one, competitive advantage. Okay, so the competitive advantage that you have, it basically means that you have something that can give you an edge, okay, or strength over your competitors. So many companies are looking for competitive advantages, something that will give them an edge, something that will make them be able to compete at a better or in a stronger position against their competitors in the marketplace, whether that be, you discover some new technology, or you are able to produce your products and services at a cheaper price than your competitors, anything that can help you get an advantage over them and mean that you're much more competitive in the marketplace. Okay, the next one is bitter disappointment. So bitter, something that's bitter, it's not sweet. Okay, so a bitter disappointment is like, something that causes deep frustration, something that's very, very disappointing, something that really makes you feel like you're let down, you have failed miserably at something despite your efforts. And a bitter disappointment means that you really feel that either the situation or someone has let you down. So if someone lets you down, it means they have, they've disappointed you, they haven't said what they would do. Okay, so bitter disappointment is a much more descriptive way. So you can see that using this adjective bitter, which is like, not sweet, the opposite of sweet, you can really describe how disappointed you are. That's why understanding how to use these adjectives and collocate them well with nouns can make your English much more descriptive. Okay, so the next one is grey area. And that means that something's a bit unclear, it's ambiguous or uncertain. So sometimes when we use grey area, we refer to laws. We say, okay, the law is this, but really it's a grey area, meaning, the law is not clear about what you can and you can't do. So when there's a grey area surrounding an issue, it means that issue is very uncertain or unclear, and grey areas can be good or they can be bad. Okay, so many companies use the grey areas in laws to avoid paying taxes or to avoid having to spend money on certain procedures or following correct protocol. Okay, so that's grey area. The next one is huge mistake. So again, if you say I made a mistake, but as opposed to I made a huge mistake, you really get an idea of how bad that mistake is. And so obviously the meaning here is a serious error. If you've made a huge mistake, it means you've made, a serious error in judgment, or you've made a really big mistake, or it's big. The degree is large, okay, or considerable. Okay, so let's look at the next one. Hot topic. Now, hot topic is an issue of current great interest. So if something's a hot topic, everyone's talking about it now. Okay, so many things are hot topics. They generally are only a hot topic for a short period of time because people are talking about them now. Obviously, something wouldn't be a hot topic if you were speaking about it or had been speaking about it for 20 years. So a hot topic, some stocks or some issues around companies may be a hot topic. Really depends on what you are discussing. Okay, but we'll look at some examples later. Okay, and I think the last one here on my list is bright future. So bright future, something that's bright with a lot of light. So if you have a bright future, it means you have got good prospects. And many people have lots of opportunities, and therefore they have a bright future. If you have lots of opportunities, you're well educated, you come from a good family, then you should have a bright future because your prospects are good for succeeding at life or in life. Okay, so that's basically the meaning of bright future. Now, that's the first part of the episode. What we're going to cover now is in the second part, it will be the example sentences, and I'll also give you the Spanish translation for those of you that speak Spanish. Okay, so just to help you guys out there. So now you understand things in context. So let's look at the first one. The first one is the company had an annual turnover of 13 million euros last year. So the company had total sales or incomes of 13 million euros, and the translation for that is facturación anual. Okay, so very similar in Spanish. The next one is the stock is healthy, having consolidated in the past few weeks. So if in the stock price has consolidated in the past few weeks, meaning in the last 2 or 3 weeks. So that would be in las últimas semanas if you want the Spanish translation, okay? So the stock is healthy, having consolidated in the past few weeks. All right, another example for the next one. Her big break came when she was chosen to play the lead in a Broadway musical. So again, I give the example here of someone who's in theatre. Her big break, she was, the lead role is, you are the protagonista, if you're speaking Spanish there, and you are, the person that's going to be playing this on Broadway. It's a very important role to play, and therefore it's una gran oportunidad, okay? In Spanish would be gran oportunidad. So, it's a really, big break, great opportunity for you. Okay, let's look at the next one. The company was in deep financial trouble, okay, due to a massive debt load and shrinking sales. So what you can see here is I've actually put financial in the middle of deep and trouble. So you can even further, you can make it even more descriptive by adding, you can be in deep and then you can add another adjective to describe what type of trouble you're in. You're in deep, what type of trouble is it? Well, it's financial trouble, okay? So deep financial trouble collocates together, and it's even more descriptive. You could say the company was in deep trouble, but if you say it was in deep financial trouble, you know that it's related specifically to money, okay? It could be in deep legal trouble. That would be they've done something legally wrong, so maybe they didn't comply with some rule or regulation and they're in trouble for that. So you can see by adding that, it makes it even more descriptive. So the company was in deep financial trouble due to a massive debt load. Now, a debt load means that they have, borrowed a lot of money and they're unable to pay back the repayments because of shrinking sales. Now, shrinking means that their sales are decreasing. And the translation for that would be grandes problemas, okay? So that, quite bad. All right, the next one is the new technology developed by the company gave them a competitive advantage over production costs. So they were able to lower their production costs and therefore they had an advantage over their competitors. And the translation will be ventaja competitiva, so very similar in Spanish to English. The next one is, it was a bitter disappointment for John when he didn't get a promotion after 20 years of service. So, John has worked for the company for 20 years. He believes that he should be the one to get a promotion, and when he didn't get the promotion, it was a bitter disappointment for him. Okay, and that is una amarga decepción in Spanish. Okay, let's look at the next one. Labor law is a bit of a grey area for me. So, it's confusing, you don't understand it well, it's ambiguous, so you're really uncertain around that. So in Spanish we say zona gris, okay, zona gris. Labor law is a bit of a grey area for me, so you don't understand it well. Okay, next one. It was a huge mistake for the company to invest in this deal. So it was a huge mistake. You can really feel and sense the gravity of this mistake. It was really bad for the company. The investment probably went bad and they lost a lot of money. So it was a huge mistake for them. And you can see I changed my intonation. I really put emphasis on huge so that you get a feel for that, how bad it was. And the translation is un gran error. Okay. Next one is video conferencing software is a hot topic at the moment with people working from home. Okay, so that's a tema candente. Okay, tema candente. People are talking about which video conferencing software is the best. What are the great characteristics of each one? The pricing. What can they do? And the security around them. So those are hot topics. Okay. The next one is, and last one, you have a bright future ahead of you. Make sure you take advantage of any opportunities, okay? So that's un brillante futuro. So, a bright future ahead of you means that you are well positioned in life to do well and to become successful and lead a good life, because you have a bright future. And most people have a bright future, luckily, nowadays, thanks to, the way we're progressing. Unfortunately, some people are really struggling, especially now. I think that's a sad point of, these pandemics or financial crises that occur. People who are the least, the most vulnerable and least likely to have money, so the poorest, they're the ones that suffer the most, which is pretty sad. So it'd be interesting to see what governments do to try and mitigate this for the global population. But I'm changing the topic completely now. So let's get back onto course. And those are my 10 adjective to noun collocations, with bright future being the last one. So what are my final thoughts? Well, as always, learning these expressions or these collocations is a great way to improve your fluency. As you can see, for me, adjective to noun collocations are fantastic. They really can help you be descriptive. I always encourage my students to, learn adjectives, because adjectives can make your writing in particular very articulate, very clear, and you can be very expressive. It's really important that we give people some indication of the amount of something. So, how big a problem is it? It's a huge problem. Okay, that's, it's not a little problem, it's a huge problem. So just by adding these adjectives, we can really become more descriptive and really, transmit to someone much more information. So it's important that you learn adjective to noun collocations. Remember that not all adjectives can collocate with everything, so it's important that you learn them so that you don't, mix the wrong adjective with a noun, because then it will sound a bit strange. People will probably still understand you, but using the proper adjective with noun collocation is essential to speaking fluent English. And lastly, they can make you sound pretty cool as well. If you're speaking your native language, what I hear a lot of my Spanish-speaking or Catalan-speaking colleagues, they're having a conversation in Spanish or Catalan, and then they'll use like one English collocation to sound, really fashionable. So that's great. You can learn some, especially the ones that are very similar to your native language in terms of the translation. You can, throw some of those in to even your native language conversations, and you'll sound pretty up with things, up with the lingo and the language. So that's my advice. Grab some of those, grab the ones that you like the most, and start to use them in your next conversation, or more importantly, in your next email or written channel, because they are really going to be helpful in being helping your communication skills overall. And of course, these have been taken from my ebook, 500 Business English Collocations for Everyday Use. So if you do want to grab a copy of that, I encourage you to do so, because it is packed full of collocations. They're divided up into all of the categories, verb to noun, noun to noun, adjective to noun, etc. And I've also included all of the pronunciation for you. So you're going to learn a lot of new vocabulary, useful expressions, and you will learn how to pronounce all of them correctly, which is really helpful when you're, want to speak good, clear English. So you can grab a copy of that from the website. And if you are listening to this, then head over to the Art of Business English. It's always, it'll be at the bottom of each post in my mini series on collocations for business. So that's it for me, people. I hope you're having a great week, and I look forward to having you on the Art of Business English next week. So take care. Bye for now.